John Miller woke up with a splitting headache. His eyes took time to adjust to the bright lights. The last thing he remembered was walking home from the university where he taught geology. Now he was sitting at what looked like a school desk. But nothing else made sense. The room around him was huge, with a high ceiling that curved like the inside of an egg. The walls glowed with a soft blue light. But the strangest thing was who, or what, sat at the other desks. There were about 30 creatures of different shapes and sizes. Some had too many limbs. Others had skin that changed colors. A few looked like walking plants. None of them looked human. John looked to his left and saw a familiar face. Heather Brooks, a botanist he had met at a faculty meeting last year. She looked as confused as he felt. "John, what is this place?" Heather whispered. Her brown hair was messy, and her eyes were wide with fear. "I have no idea," John said. He noticed two more humans in the room, a muscular man with calloused hands who he would later learn was Eric Taylor, a construction worker, and a woman with short blonde hair who turned out to be Lisa Ward, an emergency room nurse. Before they could talk more, a tall figure entered the room. The creature stood about 7 feet tall with silver skin that seemed to shimmer. It had 4 arms and a head that reminded John of a praying mantis, only much larger. "Welcome, students," the creature said in perfect English. Its voice came from a small device on what might have been its chest. "I am Professor Zorax, your instructor for extreme environmental adaptation and survival techniques here at the Galactic Academy." The humans looked at each other in shock. The other aliens seemed to understand Zorax as well, so John figured the device must translate for everyone. "We have a special class this term," Zorax continued. "We are honored to have 4 representatives from Earth, a planet classified as a Class 12 death world." Murmurs spread through the room. The alien students moved away from the humans slightly. "For those unfamiliar with the term," Zorax said, "Deathworlders are species that evolved on planets with extreme conditions. High gravity, toxic atmosphere, dangerous predators, extreme temperatures, and natural disasters. Earth has all of these." John wanted to argue. Earth seemed pretty normal to him. Sure, there were some dangerous places, but most of it was perfectly livable. "Our human guests will help demonstrate survival techniques that most of you will hopefully never need to use," Zorax explained. "They have kindly agreed to assist with our class." "We didn't agree to anything," Eric said loudly, standing up. His chair scraped against the floor. "You kidnapped us." Zorax's head tilted to one side. "I apologize for the confusion. Your species has not yet been formally invited into the galactic community. The standard procedure is to study potentially dangerous species before making contact." "Dangerous?" Lisa asked. She looked more curious than frightened now. "We're not dangerous." A small blue alien with large eyes spoke up. "You evolved on a world with 70% oxygen levels that would poison most of us. Your gravity is 3 times the galactic average. Your planet has thousands of apex predators and constant natural disasters. And yet you built cities." The humans exchanged glances. "I assure you," Zorax said, "you will be treated with respect and returned home when our session concludes. In the meantime, we hope to learn from you, and perhaps you will learn something about your place in the galaxy." John leaned back in his chair. He had been a Marine before becoming a professor. He knew when to fight and when to observe. Right, now observation seemed wiser. "What exactly do you want us to do?" he asked. Zorax's mouth parts moved in what might have been a smile. "Simply be yourselves. Tomorrow, we begin the assessment phase to measure your baseline capabilities." The next day, the 4 humans sat together in the strange classroom. They had spent the night in small but comfortable rooms, each with a bed that adjusted to their body shape. "This is some kind of zoo," Eric whispered. His strong hands gripped the edge of his desk. "They're treating us like animals." Lisa shook her head. "I think it's more like a research study. Did you notice how they kept scanning us?" "I'm just trying to figure out how to get home," Heather said. She had tied her hair back and looked more composed today. "My plants will die if I'm gone too long." John stayed quiet, watching the alien students file in. One small alien with blue skin and huge eyes kept staring at them. It moved closer, clutching what looked like a tablet. "Hello," the alien said, through its translator. "I'm Krill. May I document your species' reactions? It's for my personal research." The humans glanced at each other. "Sure," John finally said. "What do you want to know?" Krill seemed excited. "Everything. Your planet sounds fascinating. Is it true you drink water containing hydrogen?" Before John could answer, Professor Zorax entered the room. The tall alien carried several devices. "Today we begin our assessment," Zorax announced. "We will test your baseline capabilities in several areas: temperature tolerance, toxin resistance, physical endurance, and pain threshold." The alien students murmured among themselves. Krill's eyes grew even wider. "First test," Zorax said, placing a device on a table. Temperature variation. The humans were asked to place their hands on the device. It would gradually change temperature, and they should remove their hand when it became too uncomfortable. The test began. The device grew colder and colder. The humans kept their hands in place, looking slightly uncomfortable but not in pain. "-20 degrees, Zorax announced, sounding surprised. Some alien students gasped. One made a high-pitched whistling noise. "Is something wrong?" Lisa asked. "Most species cannot tolerate temperatures below freezing," Zorax explained. "Yet you show minimal discomfort." John shrugged. "I went ice fishing in Minnesota every winter. This isn't so bad." The device then heated up. The humans removed their hands around 60 degrees Celsius. "Remarkable," Zorax said, checking the machine as if it might be broken. "You can tolerate temperatures that would kill most species." Next came the toxin resistance test. The humans were given various substances to taste. "These are common foods from different planets," Zorax explained. "Please stop immediately if you feel ill." The humans sampled the items. Some tasted strange, but none made them sick. "The purple one tastes like spicy blueberries," Heather commented. Zorax's translator made a strange noise. "That substance is toxic to 80% of known species. Yet you find it pleasant?" Eric grinned. "Got any more?" The physical endurance test involved running on a treadmill while wearing sensor patches. The humans jogged steadily for 30 minutes before Zorax stopped the test. "You haven't even reached your cardiovascular limits," the professor said. "And your muscle efficiency is extraordinary." "We didn't even break a sweat," John said. "This is just a warm-up on Earth." The alien students were frantically taking notes. Krill had moved closer, recording everything. The final test measured pain response. The humans were given devices that created mild discomfort. They barely reacted. "Your pain threshold is extremely high," Zorax noted. "Combined with your other abilities, it explains how your species survived on such an extreme world." After the tests, the aliens looked at the humans with new eyes. Some seemed afraid, others fascinated. "Tomorrow," Zorax announced, "we move to the wilderness simulation. Be prepared for variable conditions." As they left the classroom, Krill approached them again. "May I ask one question?" the small alien said. "Go ahead," John replied. "If these basic tests are easy for you," Krill asked, what do humans consider challenging?" The four humans looked at each other. "Income tax forms," Eric said. "First dates," added Lisa. "Deciding what to eat for dinner," Heather said with a smile. John laughed. "We'll show you tomorrow. But trust me, what you call extreme survival, we call Tuesday." Krill didn't understand the joke, but wrote it down anyway. John looked at the other humans. Heather seemed curious, Eric angry, and Lisa thoughtful. Whatever these aliens had planned, they were in for a surprise. Humans might not be the strongest or smartest species in the galaxy, but John knew one thing for sure. They were survivors. "Fine," John said. "We'll play along. For now." Zorax nodded. "Excellent. Class dismissed until tomorrow." As the aliens filed out, the four humans gathered together, strangers united by a common situation. They had no idea that what seemed normal to them would soon amaze an entire galactic classroom. The next day, Professor Zorax led the class to a large dome attached to the main building. The walls were clear, showing a dense forest inside. "Welcome to our wilderness simulation chamber," Zorax said. "This environment can change to match different planets. Today it is set to moderate difficulty." John looked through the glass. The forest seemed normal enough with trees, rocks, and a small stream. It reminded him of camping trips back on Earth. "We will divide into groups," Zorax continued. "Each group will have one human guide and several students. Your task is to survive for 6 hours while facing changing conditions." The class split into 4 groups. Heather led a team with 5 aliens, including Krill. Eric took another group, while Lisa and John each led their own teams. "Remember your emergency beacons," Zorax warned. "Use them if you face real danger." They entered through different doors. John's group included 3 nervous-looking aliens who introduced themselves as Vex, Gnarl, and Pim. They came from worlds with stable climates and little wildlife. "Stay close," John told them. "First, we need to find water and make a shelter." The aliens followed him as he moved through the trees. John quickly found the stream and checked the water. "Is it safe to drink?" Vex asked, his thin arms wrapped around himself. John looked for signs of contamination. "It seems clean, but we should boil it to be sure." He gathered stones to make a fire ring, then collected dry branches. The aliens watched in amazement as he started a small fire using friction. "On Earth, we learned this in youth groups called Scouts," John explained. An hour later, the sky darkened suddenly. The temperature dropped fast. "Weather change," Gnarl said, shivering. "This is extreme cold for us." John quickly built a lean-to shelter using branches and leaves. He showed the aliens how to insulate it with more leaves. "Body heat will keep us warm," he said. "Sit close together." In Heather's area, the challenge was different. Strange plants had begun releasing spores that made her alien companions dizzy. "Cover your breathing organs," Heather instructed. She examined the plants carefully. These looked like they released defense chemicals when threatened. She showed her group how to move upwind of the plants and identify which ones were dangerous by their leaf patterns. "On Earth, many plants have defense mechanisms," she explained. "You learn to recognize them or you get a nasty rash on camping trips." Eric's group faced a small flash flood when the stream suddenly rose. The aliens panicked, but Eric calmly led them to higher ground. "My construction site flooded last spring," he told them as he helped a small green alien climb a rock. "This is nothing. Watch where I step." Lisa had the most dramatic challenge. A creature that looked like a cross between a wolf and a lizard began stalking her group. "Stay behind me," Lisa told her frightened companions. "Move slowly toward those boulders." The creature growled and moved closer. Lisa picked up a strong stick and stood her ground. "Make noise," she instructed the aliens. "Appear larger than you are." The aliens made various sounds through their different vocal organs. The creature hesitated, then retreated when Lisa banged her stick against a tree. "Emergency medical training," Lisa explained afterward. "We learn how to handle dangerous situations calmly." When the 6 hours ended, all 4 groups emerged safe. The alien students looked at the humans with new respect. Even Zorax seemed impressed. "You handled the level 2 challenges as if they were routine," the professor said. "Most species find these simulations quite difficult." Krill had been taking notes the entire time. "But you said you were just doing basic survival skills from your planet?" Heather nodded. "Nothing special. Any human without due that evening, the 4 humans gathered in John's room to talk about their situation. They sat in a circle on the floor, speaking in low voices. "Something isn't right," John said. "Did you notice how closely they were watching us today? Not just Zorax, but others through the dome walls." Lisa nodded. "I saw recording devices hidden in the trees. This isn't just a class." "I've been thinking," Heather said. "Why would they bring us all the way across space just to teach some students? There must be easier ways to demonstrate survival techniques." Eric punched his palm with his fist. "I told you, we're lab rats to them." A soft knock interrupted their conversation. John opened the door to find Krill standing there, looking nervous. The small blue alien glanced down the hallway before speaking. "May I enter? I have important information," Krill whispered. John let Krill in and closed the door. The alien seemed frightened. "I heard things I wasn't supposed to hear," Krill said. "You're not just here for a class. The Academy's leaders are studying you for military purposes." "Military?" Lisa asked. "Why?" Krill's large eyes blinked rapidly. "There's a conflict happening between several powerful species. Some believe humans could be valuable assets because of your natural abilities." "They want to use us as soldiers?" Eric asked, his face dark with anger. "Worse," Krill said. "Some want to clone you, others want to study your genetics to modify their own species." The humans looked at each other in shock. "How do we know you're telling the truth?" John asked. Krill pulled out a small device and activated it. A hologram appeared, showing two alien figures talking in a language they didn't understand. But Krill's translator converted their words. "The human specimens show remarkable potential," one alien said. "Their physical capabilities exceed our models. When can we begin genetic extraction?" the other asked. "After the final tests. The Council has approved full biological sampling." Krill turned off the device. That was Director Varn and Chief Scientist Pell. They run the Academy's research division. "We need to get out of here," Eric said. "Where would we go?" Heather asked. "We don't even know where in space we are." John had been quiet, thinking. Now he moved to the wall and ran his hand along it. He found a small bump and pressed it. A tiny device came loose in his hand. "Listening device," he explained. "I was trained to find these in the Marines." He crushed it under his boot. Then he searched the room and found two more. "They're watching everything we do," he said. "Not just watching," Lisa added. "Yesterday I found a needle mark on my arm. They're taking samples while we sleep." Krill nodded. "You're not the first species they've studied this way. Last year they brought in another Deathworlder species called the Krell. They died during the advanced tests." "Died?" Heather's face went pale. "Their bodies couldn't handle the stress, but you humans are much stronger." John paced the room. "We need more information. Where are we exactly? What security do they have? Are there other humans here?" "I can help," Krill said. "I work in the records department part-time, but you must be careful. If they discover I'm helping you, I'll be expelled or worse." "Why are you helping us?" John asked. Krill looked down. "My species believes in balance. What they're doing to you is wrong. And..." The alien hesitated. "I like you. You're different from what they said Deathworlders would be. You're kind." John nodded. "Okay. We'll play along for now. But we need a plan." "Tomorrow is the Level 4 test," Lisa reminded them. "It will be much harder." "Let them watch," Eric said with a grim smile. "We'll show them what humans can really do." As they made plans, none of them noticed the tiny camera hidden in the light fixture above their heads. In another part of the station, Director Varn watched the humans with growing interest. "They're smarter than we thought," he said to no one in particular. "Good. We need them to be. Or experience knows these things." "Tomorrow," Zorax announced, "we will increase the difficulty. Be prepared for Level 4 scenarios." The humans looked at each other and smiled. Level 4 didn't sound too bad. They had no idea that beyond the classroom others were watching their performance with great interest. The next morning, the humans entered the classroom with new awareness. They noticed things they had missed before. The extra cameras, the way some staff members watched them, and how Zorax seemed tense. "Today's test will be more challenging," Zorax announced. "Level 4 environments include extreme conditions and multiple survival obstacles." John noticed the professor's voice sounded different, almost worried. "Professor," John said quietly as the other students prepared, "is everything okay?" Zorax's four hands moved nervously. "The parameters for today's test were adjusted. I voiced concerns but was overruled." Before John could ask more, Director Varn entered the room. He was taller than Zorax, with dark gray skin and cold eyes. "We expect excellent results today," Varn said, looking directly at the humans. "Your performance has been most illuminating so far." The class moved to the simulation dome, which looked different today. The clear walls were now dark, hiding what was inside. "Each group will face unique challenges," Varn explained. "We've customized the environments based on your previous results." The groups entered through separate doors. John's team stepped into what looked like a mountain landscape with thin air and steep cliffs. Heather's group found themselves in a swamp, with thick mud and strange gases rising from bubbling pools. Eric entered a desert with intense heat and limited water. Lisa's team faced a dark forest with heavy rain and electrical storms. "Begin survival protocols," Varn's voice announced through speakers. "Test duration, 8 hours." In Heather's swamp, she quickly realized the bubbling pools released toxic gas. She tore strips from her shirt and showed her alien teammates how to make simple masks. "Breathe through this," she instructed. "The fabric will filter some of the toxins." Eric's team struggled with the extreme heat. He showed them how to create shade and conserve water. "Small sips," he told a panting alien. "We need to make it last." John led his group up the mountain, helping the aliens adjust to the thin air and teaching them how to secure themselves on steep paths. "Step where I step," he said. "The loose rocks are dangerous." Lisa and her team had just found shelter from the electrical storm when the real trouble began. A loud alarm blared through all 4 environments. "Emergency shutdown failure," a computerized voice announced. "Environmental controls malfunctioning. Evacuation required." The simulated environments began to change rapidly. Temperature dropped. In John's mountain area, plunging far below freezing. Heather's swamp started to flood with rising liquid. Eric's desert developed violent sandstorms. Lisa's forest filled with smoke. "This isn't part of the test," Lisa realized. Something's really wrong. Outside, Zorax was arguing with Director Varn. "You must stop this. The safety systems are failing." "We need to see how they perform under genuine stress," Varn replied coldly. "They could die. The alien students could die. Acceptable risk for valuable data." Inside the environments, the humans switched from survival mode to rescue mode. John saw ice forming on his alien companions and quickly wrapped them in insulating materials he tore from the simulation walls. "We need to get out," he told them. "This is no longer a test." In the desert, Eric carried 2 unconscious aliens through the sandstorm, following emergency lights to find an exit. Heather helped her team climb to higher ground as the swamp filled with corrosive liquid that burned on contact. Lisa created improvised smoke masks and organized her team into a chain, each holding onto the person ahead as she led them through the thick smoke. In the control room, technicians worked frantically. "Sir, the environmental systems aren't responding," one reported to Varn. "Someone has sabotaged the controls." "Who would dare?" Varn demanded. Emergency lights flashed throughout the station as crews worked to fix the damaged systems. The humans had managed to get everyone out of the simulation dome before conditions became deadly. Now they sat in a medical area where alien doctors checked the injured students. "You saved my life," Vex told John, his thin body still shaking from the cold. "I would have frozen in minutes." Similar thanks came from all the alien students. These 4 humans had carried, guided, and protected their teams through truly dangerous conditions. Professor Zorax entered the medical area, looking both relieved and angry. "I am deeply sorry," he said to the humans. "That was never supposed to happen. The safety systems should have prevented such extreme conditions." "It wasn't an accident," Lisa said. "Someone wanted to see what would happen if things went really wrong." Zorax's head dipped in what seemed like a nod. "You are correct." Director Varn pushed beyond safe parameters, but even he did not expect complete system failure. "So if not him, who sabotaged it?" Eric asked. Before Zorax could answer, Krill rushed, in looking excited despite the chaos. "You must come quickly," the small alien said. "I found something important." The humans followed Krill to a small room filled with computer terminals. Zorax came too, checking that no one saw them enter. "I accessed the restricted files," Krill explained, typing quickly. "Look at this." A document appeared on the screen. It showed images of Earth and details about humans. "This is a military assessment," John said, reading the text. "They're evaluating Earth as a potential threat or ally." "There's more," Krill said. "3 different groups are interested in humans. The Academy leadership wants to study you for scientific purposes. The Military Council wants to recruit humans as soldiers or use your genetic material to enhance their troops. And the Diplomatic Corps wants to open formal relations with Earth." "Why haven't they just contacted our governments?" Heather asked. Zorax answered, "Your planet is in a restricted zone. Some species believe developing worlds should be left alone until they achieve certain technological milestones. Like warp drive in Star Trek," Eric said with a small smile. "Something like that," Zorax agreed. "But the military faction doesn't want to wait. The galaxy is facing a crisis." "What kind of crisis?" John asked. "A hostile species from another galaxy has been attacking outer colonies," Zorax explained. "They are called the Vextal, and they are unlike anything we've encountered before. Many believe Deathworlders like you might be our best defense." Lisa looked troubled. "So we're caught in the middle of alien politics." "Yes," Krill said, "and now different factions are taking action. I believe the sabotage was done by those who want to force a direct approach to Earth, by making the situation so dangerous that humans had to reveal their full capabilities," John concluded. "Exactly," Zorax said. "And you performed even better than they hoped. You didn't just survive, you saved others at risk to yourselves." John paced the small room. "We need allies. Who else can help us?" "I've been gathering evidence of ethical violations," Zorax said. "Many instructors and even some administrators disagree with how you've been treated." "I can contact them," Krill offered. "They respect Professor Zorax." "Do it," John said. "We need to know who we can trust." Eric crossed his arms. "And then what? We're still trapped on a space station who knows where." "Actually," Heather said, pointing to information on the screen, "we know exactly where we are now, and how far from Earth." The humans studied the star charts, understanding for the first time their place in the galaxy. "There's going to be a meeting of the Galactic Council in 2 days," Krill said. "They will discuss the human situation and Earth's status. Then we have 2 days to prepare," John said, "to make sure they make the right decision about humanity." As they began planning, alarms sounded again throughout the station. On a different deck of the station, a group of alien figures watched the chaos on monitors. "The humans are responding as expected," one said. "Strong, resourceful, protective of others." "Perfect," another replied. "When the station declares an emergency, we move to Phase 2. Back in the simulation dome, alarms continued to sound as the humans fought to save not just themselves, but everyone around them. The new alarms signaled the arrival of the Galactic Council representatives a day earlier than expected. The station buzzed with activity as officials in formal attire hurried through the corridors. "They're here already," Krill said, rushing into the room where the humans were meeting with Zorax and several other sympathetic faculty members. The emergency pushed up the timeline. "We're not ready," Heather said, looking at the notes they had prepared. John stood up straight, his military training showing in his posture. "We'll have to be ready. This might be our only chance." The grand hall of the station had been transformed for the council meeting. 7 beings sat at a raised table, each from a different species and representing major galactic powers. In front of them were 3 sections, one for Academy officials, one for military representatives, and one for the Diplomatic Corps. Director Varn looked unhappy as the humans were led into the hall. He had wanted more time with his specimens before this hearing. "This emergency session will now begin," announced a tall, willowy alien with glowing skin. "I am High Counselor Thel. We are here to address the situation involving humans from the planet Earth and to determine their status." The hall fell silent as all eyes turned to the 4 humans standing in the center. "These humans were brought to the Academy without proper authorization," said a representative from the diplomatic section. "This violates Protocol 7 regarding contact with developing worlds. The military situation justified extraordinary measures," countered a stern-looking official in a uniform. The Vextal threat grows daily. We need new strategies and allies. They were treated as research specimens, not potential allies, Zorax said, stepping forward. I have documentation of ethical violations. He presented a data device to the Council. High Counselor Thel reviewed the information, her face showing concern. These actions are troubling. However, we must now determine how to proceed regarding Earth. Perhaps the humans should speak for themselves, suggested another council member. John stepped forward. My name is John Miller. We didn't ask to be brought here, but we've learned much about your galactic community. We understand you face threats and challenges. Earth has faced many threats throughout our history too. And yet you survive on a death world, said a military representative. Your physical capabilities would make you natural warriors. John shook his head. We can fight when needed, but that's not what defines us. Heather stepped up next to John. Humans adapt. We solve problems. We've survived on our world by working together and finding new solutions. We build things, Eric added. We fix what's broken. And we care for each other, Lisa said. We heal and protect those who need help. The council members listened carefully. Some nodded, others looked skeptical. Fine words, said Director Varn, but words mean little. Their actions during the crisis showed their true value. They are naturally suited for combat and survival in harsh conditions. That's not what happened, countered a student who had been in John's group. They didn't just survive, they protected us. They put themselves in danger to save others. Other students voiced their agreement. Just then the chamber doors burst open. A group of armed aliens rushed in, wearing unfamiliar uniforms. Nobody move, shouted their leader. The humans come with us now. The militant alliance claims them by right of necessity. The council members rose in alarm. Security officers moved forward but stopped when the intruders raised their weapons. The Vextal have broken through the outer defenses, the intruder leader announced. Earthborn soldiers are needed immediately. John looked at his fellow humans, then at Zorax and Krill. They had discussed this possibility. The humans had a plan, but it was risky. We will speak with your leaders, John said calmly, stepping forward. But we represent ourselves and our planet. We are not weapon. The armed intruders tensed as John took another step forward. The leader kept his weapon aimed at John's chest. Stand back, human, the leader warned. Let me ask you something, John said calmly. Have you ever seen what humans can do? Before the intruder could answer, the lights in the chamber went out. Emergency lighting kicked in seconds later, casting red shadows across the room. In those few seconds of darkness, the humans had moved. Eric was now behind one of the armed aliens. Lisa had slipped to the side of the chamber. Heather had ducked beneath the council table, and John had moved within arm's reach of the leader. How did you? The leader began, but John was already in motion. With quick movements that seemed almost casual, John disarmed the leader and held the weapon pointed at the ceiling. We don't want to fight, John said. But we can. The other humans had also acted. Eric had taken another weapon. Lisa stood protectively in front of several council members. Heather had positioned herself near the unarmed aliens. This is what we practiced, John called to his fellow humans. They had prepared for this moment, using the station's training facilities to coordinate their movements. The council chamber was silent with shock. Even the armed intruders seemed frozen, surprised by how quickly the situation had changed. The lights going out wasn't an accident, John explained. We asked Krill to arrange it if there was trouble. The small blue alien stepped forward, holding a control device. Humans plan ahead, Krill said proudly. High Counselor Thel found her voice first. This display is remarkable. You moved in complete darkness as if you could see. On Earth, we train for all conditions, John explained, including darkness. It seems there is more to humans than physical strength, one council member observed. The leader of the armed group lowered his remaining weapons. The militant alliance meant no disrespect. We are desperate. The Vextal have destroyed 3 outer colonies already. We understand, John said. But forcing people to fight for you is never the answer. The council members conferred briefly. Then High Counselor Thel stood. "This council has reached a decision," she announced. "The humans of Earth have demonstrated not only remarkable physical abilities but also courage, compassion, and wisdom. They protected others during the station emergency, and just now they chose restraint when they could have used violence." The council members all nodded in agreement. "Therefore, we declare that Earth will be recognized as a sovereign world with full rights under galactic law. No faction may interfere with Earth or recruit its people without proper diplomatic channels being established first." Cheers erupted from the alien students and the staff members who had supported the humans. Director Varn looked displeased but said nothing. "Furthermore," Thel continued, "we invite Earth to send official representatives to join our galactic community. These 4 humans will be our honored guests until arrangements can be made for their return home." John looked at his fellow humans, seeing the relief and pride on their faces. "We would be happy to serve as temporary representatives," he said, "and to help with the Vextol problem if we can, but through cooperation, not coercion." In the days that followed, the humans were no longer treated as specimens or potential weapons. They became teachers, sharing Earth knowledge with curious alien students. The academy was reformed, with Zorax appointed as its new director. Lisa began a medical exchange program. Eric helped design improvements to the station's structure. Heather started studying alien plants, and John worked with Krill to prepare information about the galaxy for Earth's leaders. 6 months later, when the first official Earth delegation arrived at the station, the 4 humans stood proudly to welcome them. "Did you ever imagine this would happen when you were abducted?" one of the Earth ambassadors asked John. He smiled, watching alien and human representatives shake hands, or tentacles, for the first time. "Actually, no," John admitted. "We were just trying to pass a survival class. Everything else happened because we were just being human." It's to be claimed. The intruder aimed his weapon directly at John. "You have no choice, Deathworlder." John smiled, slightly. "Actually, having choices is what makes us human.